I'll get my tea ready while we do this. Alright, guys. Hello, welcome back to the Talk with Rose stream, where we talk about cases and whatnot and talk about crime and things going on in the world. Whatever you guys want to talk about. Today I'm going to talk heavily about the Menendez brothers and kind of how that applies to the Gypsy Rose case. Because, yes, everybody's mad at Gypsy Rose because she's famous right now for unaliving her mother. Well, she didn't do the act, is the thing she keeps saying, because Nick did the act. And we're also going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that also. We're going to kind of go into detail about that with other crimes and stuff that's going on. Man, this honey's kind of tasting weird. So, you guys ready to get deep into this? Because I might get canceled for what I'm about to say. Just kidding. It's like, cancel Rose for what she's about to say. Please don't cancel me. It's just, it does bother me because she is popular, and her biggest thing is when people ask her about Nick and she talks about Nick, she's like, well, I didn't do the act. That's why I'm not in trouble. I didn't do the act. I did my time, he's doing his time. Well, let's talk about that. Because I really thought I was watching somebody's stream. Sorry, there's a little bit of tea leaves still in my tea. Gets to my throat and bugs me. I lost my tea dropper. So anyway, somebody likened what she did to basically Nick being a hitman, which technically they're not wrong. She solicited Nick. She worked on him for 2 years. And there is receipts and proof that Nick even said, why don't we run away? Why are we doing this? And Gypsy said, the only way I can be with you is if we do this. If we run away. There's no other way I can be with you. She got the knife, the gloves, everything. She did all the prep work. So that Nick can basically... Sorry about my Fortnite screen up. We'll play Fortnite later on Twitch. She literally prepped everything. All Nick literally had to do was walk in the house, take the gloves and the knife to the deed. She did everything else. Now, because somebody asked me the other day, we were talking on my Twitch stream, because we often talk about this on my Twitch stream, and they were talking to me about this Gypsy Rose case. Some crazy love story. Crazy ass love story. I mean, what would you do for the love of your life, Bread? How far would you go for the love of your life? So somebody was talking about it, and I started talking about the Menendez brothers. Now, I watched a documentary several months ago about boy bands and the start of boy bands, specifically on the boy band Menudo, who only had boys age 13 to 15. Once you turned 16, you basically aged out of the band, you were gone. That's how Ricky Martin got his start. Ricky Martin comes from Menudo. Now, these boy bands, some of them were the really famous ones, like, oh, come on, I know their names. It's like the name's right there on my head and I can't say it. Anyways, like NSYNC, yeah. They were managed by the Menendez brothers' father. He rose up in the industry and managed these boys. All of these boys have similar, same stories. Not all of them, but most of them. About being drugged, essayed, and other things they went through under the management of the Menendez brothers' father. They even stayed at the Menendez house. They had a huge home with like 26 rooms or something. And so they would keep these boy bands close to them. And so when the Menendez brothers did what they did it for a couple of reasons. One was like Lyle especially. Lyle's the older one, right? Lyle is the older one, and the older one really hated his father for everything. Because he was the older one, he got most of the abuse. The regular abuse, the essay, everything. Physical, emotional. I mean, they got abuse all around. However, their father was about to write them out of the will. And that really upset Lyle. And so they had already built up this hatred for their parents over the years. Eric went to counseling. When Eric went to counseling, I mean, this is how you know Eric's telling the truth. Because when he went to counseling, his parents had him sign a paper, because he was over 18, that they get to know everything that goes on in this counseling meeting, which is actually very wrong. It should be between Eric and his counselor, everything he says, not the parents. But of course the parents want to monitor what Eric's saying, because they know about the abuse in his past, and they don't want him talking about it. And so they're monitoring every aspect of their sons' lives to make sure, and this is the sad part, like, that they get away with this abuse. And then here's where we go into a deeper thing, the difference between the Menendez brothers and Gypsies, because the Menendez brothers know they didn't hire a hitman, they did it themselves. However, like we talked in my last video, for the last 4 years of Gypsy's life with her mom was the sick one, going to the hospital, getting surgeries, on all the meds. Her diabetes was hard on her. She was doing a lot of sleeping. Gypsy was walking, talking. She didn't have her feeding tube. She wasn't taking her meds. For 4 years, she was on the computer and doing whatever she wanted, day and night. because she was getting away with it because her mom was sick and she was taking care of her mom. And so we know that Gypsy did suffer abuse. We're not going to deny that. Under her mom's care, we're not going to talk about what her grandpa did to her, because she did not unalive her grandfather. We're talking solely about her mother. Now, how much abuse did Gypsy get? Because once again, she was very compliant in the grift, in the lie, in the con. She was compliant. They started the con when Gypsy was 14. At 14, you somewhat know what you're doing. By 16, you kind of get an idea of what you're really doing. You're only a couple years away from 18, and you're starting to know the law, and you're starting to know. You're able to grasp adult concepts at 16. Start to grasp adult concepts at 16. I mean, up until you're 25, your brain's still a sponge and still doing a lot of learning, but your learning is the thing. You're learning. And she's on the computer, and she's learning about life from the computer, from people that she talks to on the computer. She's opening up and talking to regular people out there with regular problems, regular lives. She's learning what regular life is. She knows. She said, my mom taught me to lie without guilt. She knows. She knows she's lying, and she's being taught that she shouldn't feel guilty about it. So she knows. You could tell by her just watching her interviews that you're going, well, yeah, so you knew you were lying, but you did it without guilt. Okay. So we get it. We know there came an age of accountability. Now, this is where it gets really hard, because we're going to talk about, I hate watching interviews with Lyle and stuff, because you can tell he doesn't want to talk about the abuse. You can tell he's really uncomfortable and doesn't want to go back in time and think about it and talk about it. He doesn't want to face it. You can tell it is really bothersome to Lyle. And you can just see it in his body language. You can hear it in his voice. This is really uncomfortable for him. And I don't blame him. But here's the thing. Men and women, they aren't looked at the same. And then we get talking into, we're going into feminist territory here, where we're talking about women, talking about how they're oppressed. However, how many men out there have been abused? Like I said, there people in the bands Menudo and NSYNC and all of that, they didn't talk about it. They just did their career and got out of the band. That's why a lot of them got out of the band and went solo, to get away from what was going on. Because that was the only way to get out of the abuse, was to age out and go solo. Now, why don't we feel as sorry for men? Is it because Gypsy was able to put on her baby voice and her sorrowful eyes, and her bald head, and all you see is this 24-year-old that still looks like she's 12? crying out? Is it because men age differently and look differently and they don't put on that baby voice? And I mean, what would happen if Lyle and Eric put on that little act, that baby voice? Would we feel sorry? But the thing is we don't. As a society, we don't recognize that men are abused. We don't recognize that they can be. Everybody, the Me Too movement, it's all about women. Women need to speak out, but what about men? Men need to speak out too. Where's the Me Too movement for men? When can men speak out and we not look down on them? Because they're always supposed to be the stronger ones, the more capable ones. Therefore, abuse doesn't happen to them. So we ignore it. We ignore it when they speak out. We ignore it when they cry out. And they hold it in because they know that's all they could do, is just hold it in. And I guess being cut out of the will was like the last straw for Lyle. Being cut out of his parents' will was like, okay, this is the last straw. I lived in this family. I've been through your abuse. You know, even as an adult, it's, you know, still going on. And we lock them away for life. The Menendez brothers are gone. They keep trying to appeal their case. They keep trying to appeal. And we're not letting them appeal, and we're not listening to them. Because they're men. Because they don't put on a cute act. They can't act like women act. Women are better at putting on masks and acting than men. So why are we putting this division between men and women, that men can't be abused and you're not allowed to feel sorry for men and give them a break in life for being abused? But the thing is, though, the other cases I wanted to talk about, it's funny too, because Gypsy's all, well, guess what? I didn't do the act. I didn't do the act. Okay, you didn't do the act. So therefore, you should not be punished and you get to be a celebrity? Well, let's talk about Mrs. The really good actor that can put on an act that the cops really did not like and yelled at her to stop her act. Her interrogation videos are great. Let's talk about Miss Dahlia Doppolito, who is serving 20 years. 20, that's twice the sentence that Gypsy got, for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Her husband's not unalived. He's very much alive, because luckily the guy she tried to solicit said, I'm not doing this. And he took it straight to the cops and said, look, I got this lady. I think she's serious, and I think she's dangerous. She wants me to find her a hitman. So they got an undercover cop to play the hitman and make her think that her husband was unalived, just as she planned it. They caught her on tape planning it with the undercover cop. They had her dead to rights. When they took her into the police station and they told her her husband was unalived, but he wasn't, but they said he was. But that's part of the act that the cops put on. 20 years. Her husband's not unalived. She got 20 years just for the solicitation, just for asking someone. 20 years. Now imagine how much she would get if he was unalived. Definitely more than 20 years. But she doesn't have a huge story of abuse. Once again, hers is kind of like a princess story that she took advantage of. And we got another story like that too. Miss Lindsay Shriver. This is a current case going on right now at this moment. It is currently in court this month. They went to court on March 4th. I don't know the outcome of it. They're still going to court. Princess story. Girl met boy in college. They finished their degrees, graduated, got married, had 3 beautiful boys. They had a mansion in Louisiana, and they had a vacation home in the Bahamas. She had it all. Her husband was worth $9 million. But she cheated on him. She had it all. She threw it away. She cheated on him. The husband catches her, hires a private detective, catches her dead to rights. He files for divorce. They're going through a really horrible divorce. She's not wanting it to happen. The husband takes the kids to the Bahamas. The wife follows and stalks them. She gets a picture later on that night of her husband giving a side shoulder hug to somebody, kind of warming up to him. And she texts her boyfriend, who lives in the Bahamas. So they're in the Bahamas at the moment. So the crime is happening in the Bahamas, not the U.S. They're in the Bahamas. She texts him the picture, says, I think he's warming up to her. Kill him. She says, so 3 people are in on this text message. Somehow the authorities get a hold of this text message. She is now facing up to, her husband's not unalived. Remember, he's not unalived. It's just text messages. That's what they're going to court for. Text messages saying to unalive him. Up to 60 years. She is facing up to. She's on an ankle monitor right now. She's out and about in the Bahamas. She's supposed to stay in the Bahamas on her ankle monitor. Her and the other 2 that were in on the text. All 3 people that were on the text. All 3 are on ankle monitors going to court over allegedly possible solicitation through text message. Up to 60 years. And this is just for solicitation. What Gypsy did for 2 years. Solicitation. For solicitation, you can face decades in prison. And she didn't even finish out 1 decade in prison for solicitation, and for it actually being gone through with. And people who just did solicitation are in so much trouble. So if just solicitation gets you in that much trouble, yeah, why is she not facing more time for the manipulation, the solicitation, everything? Because that was hiring a hitman. They didn't, because the one reason also why I wanted to bring up Lindsay Shriver's case is because there was no money involved. It was just text messages. Her boyfriend saying, yeah, I want to unalive your husband. Okay? These are just text messages. No money exchanged or anything. They're in Dahlia's case, money was exchanged. She gave them $1,200 to buy and she gave him a photo of her husband. That's what she did in her case. So money was exchanged in that case. But in Lindsay's case, no money was exchanged, just words. Words were exchanged over text message. Gypsy did exchange. Her exchange was, unalive my mother and I will run away with you. I will be intimate with you. But you know what I mean. I'm using a softer word. And she did give Nick some money to do this. There was a tiny bit of money involved in it. But the biggest exchange was, do it or I can't be with you and I'm gonna dump you. So if you want me in your life, if you want to live with me, you have to do this. And it's just so crazy because these other cases, no money was exchanged in some of them, just words. The fact of just texting that you want your husband unalived is solicitation. When you and your boyfriend exchange words of, hey, we should unalive him. Okay. Boom. Solicitation. And she's out. She's not advocating. She's making a video talking about Munchausen. But she's not out there. She's going to the hospital and going shopping. Why isn't she dropping by her local community centers? And where is this payback? Because most people, like, if I donate to a charity, I'm not most likely not going to publicly share it. It's my business who I donate to. However, in Gypsy's case, the reason why her donations need to be public is because the public needs to see, because there's a crime that did happen, that does exist, that Gypsy and her mom did, that isn't being paid back for, isn't being punished for. I mean, Dahlia Dopolito, her husband, served 2 years in prison and was on probation for 6 years and had to pay a $100,000 fine for the fraud he committed. So, I mean, Gypsy's in trouble for fraud and solicitation and everything. And where's her ankle bracelet and home monitor and probation saying, okay, we need to see that you're paying back these charities? What charities did you call on? Because they got a lot of them. The Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Habitat for Humanity, and there's countless people that donated money to them that want to see their money be forwarded to a charity. They're like, I'm going to donate to you, Gypsy, in the promise that this money is going to one of those charities out there that you guys conned. And so she's not having to pay for all her crimes. Because like I said, oh my gosh, if Dee Dee was alive, what would Dee Dee have to say? If Gypsy had just run away and we could hear from Dee Dee, what would she have to say? Would she tell us she didn't make Gypsy actually take the meds, that she just needed to get the prescriptions to prove that they were using them, but they threw them away? Because I don't see hardly anything in that medicine cabinet in Gypsy's name, and all of it is over-the-counter crap. Inhalers and stuff for the mom. There's like 3 stacks of different inhalers in that closet. Everybody looks at it and they see these big giant stacks of boxes and they think, oh my gosh, those meds. But they were for Dee Dee. So yeah, I hope you guys liked kind of what I've had to bring up today. Like I said, I don't know what should be done with the Menendez brothers, if they should get their appeal and get out. But we do need to stop turning a blind eye to boys and men who are abused, SA'd. Because it does happen all the time. Boys are kidnapped. Boys are abused. Boys are kidnapped and unalived. It's not just girls. There's this story about this twin. Wow. Can you imagine if feeling guilty for the rest of your life for not going to the mall with your twin, and you stayed home and let your twin wander off and he got unalived? The major guilt. Because boys are in just as much danger as girls are. You shouldn't just watch over your daughters, you should watch over your sons too. When I researched a lot of cases about pedos, like, gosh, was that Ed Gein or something? Is that one? The what's his name? The really famous one, John Wayne Gacy, the clown? Boys, not girls. Boys. Ed Gein, boys. I can think of a lot of serial ones out there that boys only. Jeffrey Dahmer. Boys only. Boys are in as much danger. Sometimes when I think of a lot of the serial unalivers out there, boys come to mind. They take boys. People like Ted Bundy, yeah, did girls. Green River Killer did girls. Zodiac Killer did girls. Well, he did couples too. He did both. But there's a lot out there that just did boys. So why can't we understand that Lyle and Eric's father was one of those bad men that got away with his crime because boys don't speak up? because Eric and Lyle's father sat there high and mighty in his home after what he'd done to a bunch of boys. And his own sons, and he got away with it. And it's hard to see people get away with crime like that. No one ever took him to court. We're going to talk more essay and stuff in another video when I talk about Danny Masterson. We're going to go into that a little more when I go into Danny Masterson. But let me know how you feel about the Menendez brothers. Do they deserve an appeal? Do they deserve to be understood? Do they deserve to have some sympathy for what they went through? They weren't just perfect. I mean, there's I can't remember his name. Total rich kid. Incel. He was so privileged. His parents were in the entertainment business. He was so privileged. He wasn't abused. He had no reason except for the fact that he was an incel to go out there and unalive people and torture people and throw stuff in their face and be mean to women just because they looked at him and he didn't like it that they were looking at him. And oh God, he had famous parents. I can't remember their names right now. I wish I could just pull names. As I get older, my brain gets foggier. But I know the stories. I just can't always remember the name. Lyle and Eric weren't like him. He was one of those privileged kids that you're going, gosh, you were handed everything in this world and you screwed it up. Just like Lindsay Shriver. She was living the dream life and she cheated on her husband and screwed it up. And then went and text messaged about unaliving him, and now she's in so much trouble. She's in so much trouble. Lyle and Eric came from a very bad home. Very bad home. And I don't know what feels more worse. Your dad abusing you and being abused, or your mom who hides the secret and facilitates it and just turns her back and pretends it's not happening. It's like what feels worse sometimes at times, the abuser or the person that's supposed to save you turns their back on you and doesn't want to hear it. And that's why they butted into Eric's therapy sessions, so that he was too afraid to talk about the abuse. Once their parents were unalived, they came out with it. I don't know if I want to say they felt a little more comfortable, because like I said, watching interviews with Lyle talk about it, he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to. He doesn't. So when are we going to recognize that boys need us too? Boys need us to care about them too. Boys need us to be there and stand up for them and believe them too. Christina Ricci said, always believe a victim because it's hard to come forward. And we're going to talk about that more in Danny Masterson's case, because right now I'm trampling into the territory of another video of Danny Masterson and talking more about essay and R word and rape. And we were going to go deeper into that on the Danny Masterson video. But like I said, when do we believe boys and give them a voice so that they can speak out and get it out and not feel like have the weight on them that they're men and they're not supposed to feel so much emotions about life, yet they do. Somebody on my stream said something about men are more likely to unalive themselves. I don't know if that's true or not, but then again, men hold more secrets that really tear them up inside, and so are men more susceptible to unaliving themselves or not? What do you think? Let me know if you think. I looked it up. Men unalive themselves between 4 to 5 more times more often than women. Because, yeah, men, we put so much pressure on men to not have feelings, to just be sturdy, to be capable, to be strong. And sometimes that pressure is too much. So yeah, come live chat with me here on YouTube as I'm talking about it, or sometimes we play games and stuff on Twitch, but we also get into conversations like this on Twitch, where we live chat and talk and play games, have fun, talk about life problems. I'm there for you guys. Like I said, I'm not a licensed counselor. I do have a degree in criminal justice and psychology, but I don't have my certifications anymore. I let time go by and I didn't re-up them because I had my own troubles in life for a couple of years and I let things slip. I let my certifications and things slip. And now I'm trying to get back to that. I'm trying to get back to streaming like I did 9 years ago. I'm trying to get back to being a voice out there for the people, to tell your stories, to get your stories out there, to have someone to go talk to. Because no, I don't want to see people unalive themselves. I don't want to see people feeling heavily pressured in life. If I can help in any way, I will do it. But I'm not a licensed counselor, but we could talk about going to counseling or whatever you need and make you feel confident about what you need to do about your situation. I'm there for you. So thank you guys. Hope you feel loved and appreciated and especially heard in life. And I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for watching my video. I appreciate it. And thank you for all of the likes and comments. I really appreciate it. Love reading them and love getting back to you guys. I will re-comment on your comment and get back to you. As long as there's not too many. Just kidding. Love you guys. Stay safe, stay warm, stay happy, stay loved, and hopefully heard.